Hello, dear soul. I'm so happy to have you here. My name is Jamie Flares. I'm many things. Um, I'm an astrologer and sound healer, shamanic healer, and I help people write books. And I'm a soul on the journey like everyone else. And I am here. I'm recording this on the eve of Venus's meetup with the sun in the underworld here. Today's March 24th, 2021, but tomorrow is the 25th when they actually meet up in the sky. And I feel inspired to share a soul story of mine. This situation happened several years ago, but it's been such soul medicine for me ever since. And my intention in sharing this is to share some of that soul medicine with you. And the reason I share this now is because this is a story for me of the magic of ultimate surrender. And it's animal medicine. I receive a lot of animal medicine. I'm blessed in that way, and this one was one of like a very big one for me. So this happened a few years ago. I was in the middle of a pretty intense and painful divorce process, and I live in a home that is partially under the ground, and I had an unfinished room in my home which was used as a closet, and it was full of stuff. It was full of stuff. It was collecting dust. It wasn't used much. People didn't go in there that often. But it was the summer and it gets pretty damp down here. And so I wanted to go in and see if there was an outlet to plug in a dehumidifier in there. And when I went in there, it was probably 10 o'clock at night. My little girl, my daughter, was sleeping like right across the hall, maybe 7 feet from there. And I go in and I'm looking around for an outlet and I see something, kind of in my periphery. And I look down and there's a snake. And I'm like, oh my God, there's a snake. And I immediately panic, close the door, run out of the room. And I'm like, go to the other side of the room, other side of the house. And am kind of in that state of panic. Like the first, thoughts in my head were, oh my gosh, there's a dangerous animal in my house. And my daughter's sleeping over there. And like, I have to do something, right? But I was really scared. And I didn't really know. I was kind of like orienting to the situation. I'm like, okay, there's a snake in my house. Okay. So what do I do next? So I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to figure out if it's alive or not. I gotta go back in there and see if it's alive or dead. So I go back in with a stick and I poke it a little bit and its little tongue slithers out. I'm like, it's alive. And I immediately go close the door again. I'm still in fear, of this situation, of this animal that's in my house. And so I go out. I think I texted a girlfriend and she was like, maybe it's hungry. Maybe we should feed it. We were thinking like, we should nurture this thing. Like, what does this creature need? And I'm like, I don't know. That's one way. And then I texted a male friend of mine and what should I do? And he said, you should kill it. Like, kill it. Just kill it. And I was like, that doesn't feel right either. So I'm like, I'm not going to feed it. I'm not going to kill it. Okay, what am I going to do here? And I was like, well, first of all, my wise one came in and she was like, you can do no good when you're afraid. Like, if you're going to be afraid of this situation, you're not going to be able to solve it. Like, you'll act in fear, and actions from fear never really turn out super great. So we got to get you out of fear first. Like, we won't be able to take the next step with this creature that's in the house until we get out of fear. So I have an altar practice. I have an altar. I went and sat at my altar and I cleared the fear out of my system. I was like, I'm going to clear the fear because I know it's not serving me right now. I need other parts of me to be accessible so that I can manage the situation. Other people might have just ignored the snake, but I was not ignoring the snake. I'm like, this problem is not going to go away by itself. I'm going to do something. So anyway, I got out of fear. And what I realized was that this snake needed help to get out. Like, it needed to be removed from the house. Like, that was the solution, real simple. Obviously, you might have come to that before I got to my altar, but I needed that moment. And so I went in again and I looked a little closer. I wasn't in fear anymore. So I wasn't like in and out like a flash, only in fear. I was able to really see and observe what was there. And what I noticed was two things. One, the snake had wrapped itself around this like light, like one of those pole lights. So it was wrapped around the light partially. And then the other parts of its body, several parts of its body, were inside this glue trap. I don't know if you've ever seen a glue trap. people put them down in that closet. Some pest person put them down in there. They're supposed to attract the insects and control insect pests. And they're very, very sticky. And so the snake was stuck in the glue trap, completely stuck. And as I looked closer, I could see that like parts of its scales had been ripped off as it had tried to get out of this snake trap. And it struggled and struggled. And I could tell that it was beyond struggle. Like it was done struggling. It was kind of in that despair place of like, there's nothing else I can do. And so I've immediately felt this tremendous compassion for this creature and wanted to help it. Now, mind you, in my own life, I was going through a situation where I was struggling in, I wouldn't say it's a trap, but I was struggling in my own sticky situation of my divorce. And every time I fought in that substrate, it got worse. It was like tearing me apart at the time. And so every time I fought, which I felt like I needed to do at the time, things got worse. So here I am with this snake in the house, 11 o'clock at night. It's going through the same thing that I'm going through. Same thing. And so of course, like I'm now in empathy. I'm now in reciprocity and connection with this snake. And I'm like, well, her life, we're same here. I've got to do something to support her. And so I, as any modern priestess, shaman, woman, healer person who just wants to help a snake does in the modern era, is I Googled it. I was like, how do you get a snake out of a glue trap? And the answer was non-stick cooking spray. And I was like, brilliant. I have non-stick cooking spray in the kitchen. So I went to the kitchen, I got my can of cooking spray, and I went back and I was like, oh, I can't spray it in here. So I was like, I got to get the snake out of the house first, because if I loosen it here, it's going to be in the house loose. That's not going to work. Got to get the snake out. And of course, it was still wrapped around this pole, pole light, and I had to get it out. So I tried to get it into a box. I kind of half got it into a box with the pole light, and I ran it through the house like as fast as I could. And I knew that in working with this snake that I had to accept the risk that it was a wild animal and it could easily lash out at me. I mean, it was very stuck, but it definitely had a part of its head that was free. I knew it wasn't a poisonous snake, but I knew it was a snake in distress, and any animal in distress can be dangerous. So anyway, I took it outside and I sprayed the living Jesus out of this thing. Sorry, Jesus. Thanks, Jesus. I sprayed the heck out of this thing with nonstick cooking spray. I mean, I spent like 20 minutes, just like every little part of its body, and slowly helped. It probably took an hour, kind of helped it move its body and extract its body from this like really, really sticky substrate. And I had sprayed it all down, and it's still like I was, working with it, and it still wouldn't move. And I was like, okay, this snake is already resolved to like its fate. It's given up, it's given up, it's surrendered. I need to let it know now that it is free. Like it is no longer trapped and it can go. It was that moment sometimes where we are free to go from whatever's been trapping us, and we don't move yet because we're so used to being trapped, right? So I sat again and connected to this spirit of this snake, and I opened my eyes, 5 minutes maybe went by, I opened my eyes and the snake started to move. I'm like, oh, this is great. So the snake got, completely off of this trap and unwound from the light. And it took a moment. It was really one of those magical moments. It took a moment. It looked at me, and then it just slithered off into the night. And it was just gone. But the reason this story for me, if you haven't already gleaned this from the story, the reason why this story for me is this powerful medicine of the gift of surrender is that, when I went in an empathetic way to imagine what this snake had gone through, what I felt was that this snake had found itself in unnatural conditions, a situation not conducive to its highest and natural state. And it got stuck. It got stuck in a trap. And the more it struggled in that trap, the worse things got. Like tearing out off flesh, bad kind of struggle in a trap. And she surrendered. And the moment that she surrendered, so think of a snake. Snakes like maybe have some experience with humans, but they're not like hanging out with humans. Like I'm not a known factor in this snake's world, right? Um, and definitely snakes are not aware of like the phenomenon that is nonstick cooking spray, right? So the snake completely surrendered, completely let go of the struggle that was only making things worse for itself. And something, me and the nonstick cooking spray, came in unimaginable to a snake and created freedom, created liberation, saved the snake. And it was a turning point for me at that moment when it happened because I stopped struggling in the trap that I was in, that I had created for myself. I stopped struggling. I surrendered. I released. I let go of the thing I was trying to fight and trusted that grace would come next. And I actually have a snake. I got the snake tattooed on my leg. There was much more to this story. Like snake medicine continued in a pretty kind of ridiculous and magical way after that. So I have a snake tattooed on my leg to remind myself of this medicine, of the power of surrender and the power of what can happen when we really, truly let go. And it's not easy. It's not easy. We think that the only way that we're going to get free is if we keep struggling in the trap. And this animal medicine was just such a gift to me in the sense of helping me to really understand the power of surrender and the power of trusting that which is so much greater that I might not even be able to fathom in this moment. So I share that in the spirit of this moment when, astrologically, Venus is in the underworld and she is in annihilation. She's facing annihilation. She's shedding all the things like a snake does that no longer fit, that can't come with her, that are too tight, too small, too trapping. And she meets with a great light. And so it's an apropos medicine story for this moment. So I share this in hopes that it meets you in some beautiful way. And I wish you well. Thanks for listening. Bye.